Deadpool is the funniest character in the superhero genre, but why does his humor work so well, and why do so many people find him funny, yet not find She-Hulk funny? The two characters are more similar than you might think. Both of them break the fourth wall, star in comedic stories, poke fun at the superhero genre, and their projects stand out from the other movies and shows in their respective universes. But one of them works, and the other one doesn't. Deadpool is loved by superhero fans, and his two movies did really well at the box office despite having a low budget. Deadpool and Wolverine is a massive hit, one of Marvel's biggest triumphs since Endgame, and the jokes are actually funny, while She-Hulk isn't funny, and the only reason people watched her show was because of Daredevil. There are 4 reasons that explain this. The first step to making a fictional character funny is to make them likable, because no one likes laughing at the joke of a classmate they don't like. Deadpool does this by putting himself down before making fun of others. Just look at the opening credits of the first movie, produced by asshats, starring a hot chick, God's perfect idiot, a CGI character, and a moody teen. We don't even see the real names of the people involved in the film, and Deadpool doesn't depict himself as the best superhero ever. He knows he's an idiot, and he expects us to make fun of him. The objective of the sequence is to set the tone for the movie and make us feel comfortable. First, we laugh at Deadpool. Then we laugh with Deadpool.
You don't need to be funny here.
We see this again the first time Wade breaks the fourth wall. Deadpool laughs at the idea of having his own movie, as if the character himself knows he's not good enough for a Hollywood blockbuster. Maybe it sounds crazy now, seeing the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, but Wade Wilson used to be a secondary character before 2016. This happens again and again during Deadpool and Wolverine. When Logan suggests that Wade might have ADHD and that's why he's unbearable, Wade responds that he's not sure if he has it, but he does know he has several diseases from his crazy sexual life that could have caused ADHD. Wade laughs at himself because he knows he's unbearable and that Logan wishes he would just shut up for once. Of course, Deadpool also makes fun of other characters. When they're in the void, he mocks Gambit's accent, but only after he's made fun of himself. This doesn't happen in She-Hulk. Jennifer is confident from the start, thinks she knows everything, says she has a perfect life, doesn't want advice from anyone, and in the first episode of the show, she yells at Bruce. She says she's better than him because she can control her transformations better than Hulk, just because she's a woman and she lives a very stressful life. But she's talking to the wrong person. Are you seriously telling a guy who was physically and psychologically abused as a child that you have a tough life? Are you really saying that to someone with an identity disorder who tried to commit suicide, has been pursued by the army, and was exiled to another planet?
That doesn't seem fair.
But humor is not so simple. Maybe Deadpool could say these same lines and make them work, if there was a punchline to these comments. If Jennifer had looked at the camera and said, I think I overdid it. She had a pretty tough life too. The audience's perception would have been different. Jennifer might have seemed arrogant and tough when relating to others, but she also would have been an empathetic girl who just had trouble expressing her true feelings. But as presented here, the character might come off as a bit unlikable. And if you don't like the main character of a sitcom right away, it's hard for their jokes to be funny.
You're absolutely right.
To be fair, Jennifer goes through some character development. In episode 7, we see her vulnerable, speaking poorly about herself and how her powers weigh on her. At that moment, we can understand her and relate to her, but this emotional speech comes too late. At 20 minutes per episode, we have to wait more than 2 hours of the show for the character to start being a little bit likable. Second reason. What set Deadpool apart from other superhero movies was its tone. It was an R-rated comedy filled with swearing, blood, and constant mocking of the genre, something rare in 2016. The writers had no restrictions on what they could laugh at, but they took advantage of the superhero landing meme, made fun of Green Lantern, and even referenced the competition in the second movie. When facing Cable in Deadpool 2, Wade says he's too dark and asks if he's from the DC universe, because at that time, the DC brand was well known for being darker than Marvel. Deadpool did what other superheroes didn't. He broke all the stereotypes in the genre, and others followed the way, like Doom Patrol, The Umbrella Academy, or The Boys. Deadpool's producers also didn't hold back on swearing and sexual jokes, because they were not aiming for a huge audience. It didn't matter to them that the movie was rated R, or that kids couldn't get into the theater, because they were committed to their audience. They knew their target audience was 15 to 30-year-olds, not children or adults over 60. Kids wouldn't be able to get into the theater alone in the first place, and adults over 60 would find Deadpool way too irreverent for their taste. But their target audience would love Wade's jokes.
You're a funny guy!
The same thing happened in Deadpool and Wolverine. Before the movie came out, Ryan Reynolds posted this video.
This film is as paper thin as a sequel to Battlefield Earth. We're mostly gonna beat each other senseless, make enemies with Disney, make a few jokes at my expense, make a lot of jokes at Hughes' expense, and completely sidestep Marvel's mandated after-credit sequence, which if you haven't figured it out yet, is always just a commercial for another movie, which will invariably end with a commercial for another movie. So sit back, relax, let us lower your IQ and raise your heart rate while we travel to a place where grown men and grown women walk around in tights and act like it's not a giant cultural cry for help. This is cinema.
He makes fun fun of everything and everyone, from Marvel's post-credit scenes to Martin Scorsese, who said MCU movies were not cinema. She-Hulk feels unnecessarily respectful. Being a show not meant for adults, no one expected She-Hulk to have explicit sex scenes, or that all the jokes would be about dismemberment, but it seems the writers were afraid to joke about certain topics. In the second episode, Jennifer says being a superhero is for adult orphans, a direct punch to Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, or, well, almost every Marvel and DC superhero. That was a good joke, but that was it. There was no criticism of Disney, Marvel, DC, CGI, the exploitation of VFX workers, or the supposed superhero movie fatigue. The only really edgy moment in the show is the dancing scene in the third episode.
Oh, I don't want to see that!
The creators of the show knew that scene could be offensive to some viewers and funny to others. It didn't make me laugh, but I acknowledge the attempt. Still, it's very little. Third reason. I know this has been a comparison between Wade Wilson and Jennifer Walters, but secondary characters matter. Deadpool is undoubtedly the funniest character in his own movies. He's the one who tells the most jokes and stars in most of the funny situations, but he's not the only one who makes jokes. The supporting characters are also funny. One of the funniest scenes in the first movie is when Deadpool prepares a lot of weapons to go after the villain of the movie, who kidnapped his girlfriend. Weasel, his best friend, says this:
I'd go with you, but I don't want to.
This scene always cracks me up because of TJ Miller's delivery and how it breaks the tone of the scene, which in any other movie would be epic. Weasel doesn't have the same style or type of humor as Wade. His jokes are quicker, don't give you time to breathe, and don't include as many references. Dopender and Blind Al's comments are also different from Deadpool's, because the key to making a comedy work is using different types of humor. No matter how funny the main character of a comedy is, they will most likely have one type of humor that fits their personality. Adding funny supporting characters can make the story much more entertaining because their interactions will be unique.
Prove it.
We have several examples of this, like the conversations between Deadpool and Weasel. They complement each other when they're together and are funnier than when they're apart. We see a similar dynamic in Deadpool and Wolverine between the two protagonists. Wolverine never tells jokes because he's moody all the time, but look at this scene.
I wear a toupee, but nobody knows. Everybody knows.
I wouldn't say Wolverine is funny, but some of his sarcastic remarks might make you laugh, even if that's not the character's intention. In She-Hulk, there are no funny supporting characters. I don't mean their humor doesn't resonate with me, or that they try to be funny and fail. They just don't tell jokes at all. The equivalent of Weasel would be Nikki, Jennifer's best friend. This series has 9 episodes, and this girl hasn't told a single joke in any of them. Pug and Mallory, Jennifer's co-workers, don't tell jokes either, and neither does Jennifer's boss.
People who don't have a sense of humor.
Those who tried to be funny were Wong and Abomination, but it's hard to include them as supporting characters because there are entire episodes where they don't show up. This is a big problem because Jennifer is the only one who tries to be funny, and if Jennifer's jokes don't make you laugh, the whole series won't make you laugh at any point. Fourth reason. At the beginning of the video, I said that one of the common threads between these two characters is their ability to break the fourth wall. On the surface, they do it in a very similar way. They speak directly to the audience to give a wink, or make a reference only fans will understand, but it's not exactly the same. In Deadpool 2, Colossus grabs Wade by the neck and says that friends stick together when things get hard, and Wade always makes things hard.
I understood that reference.
There's a double entendre joke, but the punchline comes from Wade, who looks directly at the camera. He doesn't need to say anything for the moment to be funny, because breaking the fourth wall marks the joke. Without this shot of Deadpool looking at the camera, there's no joke. The fourth wall break is funny and necessary for the scene. We have a similar example in Deadpool and Wolverine. When the Resistance attacks Cassandra Nova in the Void, Wesley Snipes' Blade says he's always been Blade and that there's not going to be another Blade. The line sounds epic, but Deadpool makes sure to look straight at the camera and open his eyes, because he knows Marvel is developing a new Blade movie starring Mahershala Ali. Without Deadpool's peak, there is no joke, just as in Deadpool 2.
I get it!
Now let's see how She-Hulk does it. In the first episode, Jennifer breaks the fourth wall while talking to Bruce. Her cousin says he respects her decision to stay a lawyer instead of becoming a superhero, and She-Hulk looks at the camera and says, he didn't mean that, but this isn't a joke. It barely serves as a comment and doesn't add anything to the scene. It's there to let us know that She-Hulk can break the fourth wall, something already shown in the series' first scene, when Jennifer looks at the camera and says she's a Hulk.
That is not funny.
This repeats again and again in every episode. Jennifer breaks the fourth wall, but in a completely unnecessary and uncreative way. In episode 3, she says they're combining the A and B subplots, something that's not a joke and doesn't add anything to the scene. We can cut that line of dialogue and nothing changes. But let's be clear, I'm not saying fourth wall breaks never work in She-Hulk. In episode 2, Hulk says he's a completely different person than he was in 2008, and Jennifer laughs at the camera because Bruce Banner is now played by another actor. That was a good use of the fourth wall and something Deadpool would be proud of. They also did well in episode 7. Jennifer visits Emil Blonsky's ranch, and we see this guy, who is one of the Wrecking Crew members, who attacked Jennifer in a previous episode to steal her blood. Jennifer stops the episode saying no one remembers that character, and that they need a previously on scene, because we hadn't seen that guy since the 3rd episode, and he wasn't that important. Even if you binge the show, it's very likely that you didn't even remember he existed. Damn, I didn't even remember any of this before preparing this video.
I have a very bad short-term memory.
There's no way to know if She-Hulk could be as funny as Deadpool with a better script, better directors, or a more polished edit, but I'm sure that if the fourth wall breaks and references were like the ones I just mentioned, more people would have laughed watching She-Hulk. The main problem is the treatment both characters got. Deadpool was respected by both Fox and Disney. Both studios tried their best to make these movies great. On the other hand, She-Hulk was one of the Disney Plus projects that came out after Endgame, when Marvel greenlit a lot of half-baked projects to participate in the streaming wars. That's one of the main reasons why the MCU took a hit after the Infinity Saga. We talk about the other reasons in this video over here.
I'll watch it.